Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from the Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, a petrol tanker explosion in Mejia town, Taura local government area of Jigawa state kills 140 persons, leaving 50 others injured. President Tinubu directs that emergency aid, including medical supplies, food and shelter, be extended to the 50 victims receiving treatment and others affected by the fire as residents bury the dead. And the House of Representatives calls for the immediate reversal in the price increase in petrol and cooking gas.
On business news tonight, Ministry of Finance partners Credit Corp to launch a total of 10 billion naira fund to enable Nigerians access CNG conversions and solar energy solutions amid high energy prices.
On sports, newly appointed Three Lions manager Thomas Tuchel waits off criticisms of England going German after becoming the third non-Englishman to hold the position.
At Mejia town in Taura local government area in a devastating incident which led to the death of 140 people, while 50 others who were injured have been hospitalized. The incident occurred around midnight on Tuesday when a tanker driver traveling from Kano to Nguru in Yobe State lost control near the Khadija University in Mejia. According to the state's police public relations officer, DSP Lawan Adam, the disaster was triggered by residents who had rushed to collect petrol after the tanker overturned. The command disclosed that the authorities have commenced a mass burial for the victims and expressed condolences to their families and the entire people of Jigawa state.
At 11:45 p.m., a petrol tanker destined for Yobe State after taking off from Kano ends its journey in Mejia town in Taura local government area of Jigawa state, spilling its volatile content. Residents sadly do not heed to the constant warning of not scooping fuel in situations like this. The lure of profiting from petrol results in a horrendous explosion. It's a visit that a Jigawa governor would rather not embark on, but he is here and promises to pick the bills of the injured.
Those in the hospital, the government will take a full responsibility of their medical bills. Apart from the secondary facilities we have in the state, we have also make arrangement with the tertiary facilities, Amini Kano Teaching Hospital, Federal Medical Center, Borno and Federal Medical Center, Unguru. For those that are in Hadija General Hospital, they have a referral center at Federal Medical Center, Unguru. And for those that are in Jahun, they have a referral place at Federal Medical Center Borno. And for those in Ringium General Hospital, they will be referred to American Teaching Hospitals.
Chairman of the local government and NEMA at the burial noted that there will be need for sensitization in communities to keep people away from petrol tanker accidents.
Wanted a fact and fall. The petrol had been fleeing in the drainage. The people in that area came out to carry the fuel, maybe to sell whatever they want to do. The fuel now catch fire, and we have the loss of 147 people right now. We have almost 89 in the hospital. They are hospitalized. Right now, I'm receiving a call that 3 of them died.
A lot of sensitization has been going on in Nigeria that people should avoid rushing into an accident vehicle like that. A big a tanker that is carrying petrol to be scooping oil. So there is a lot of suggestion about that, but people refuse to heed to advice. That is one of the reasons this calamity happened.
Locals dig the grounds to bury the charred bodies, an unpleasant but necessary task. Members of the community narrate the ordeal and count their losses as some patients have been transferred to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. This is yet another avoidable carnage, which leads to the question of how to ensure that Nigerians are sufficiently sensitized on the grave danger of scooping fuel when accidents like this occur.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has directed the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, to lead a federal government delegation to Jigawa in response to the petrol tanker inferno which claimed 140 lives in Mejia town. As contained in the statement by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy to the President, Bayo Ononuga. While in Jigawa, the delegation will visit the scene of the incident to assess the situation and visit injured persons in the hospital. President Bola Tinubu further directed that emergency aid, including medical supplies, food and shelter, be extended to those injured victims receiving treatment and others affected by the fire. He expresses his heartfelt prayers and support to the government and people of Jigawa during this time of tragic loss and grief, and prayed for divine comfort for the bereaved families and the peaceful repose for the souls of the departed. President Tinubu reassures the country that the federal government, in collaboration with states, is committed to the swift and comprehensive review of fuel transportation safety protocols across the country in a bid to ensuring such incidents do not reoccur. Against the backdrop of the petrol tanker explosion at Mejia town in Taura local government area in Jigawa state, the Senate has asked the National Orientation Agency to intensify sensitization on the dangers of indulging in the act of scooping fuel from tankers whenever such accidents occur, as part of measures to forestall a recurrence of this unfortunate incident. These resolutions followed a matter of urgent importance raised by some lawmakers. The upper chamber observed that the latest inferno has become one incident too many, in spite of previous fatalities from similar incidents.
Hi, Sabin. You may proceed to lay the report. Sitting down and doing our work very peacefully, oblivious of the mischief that is going on.
At 11.
Call on the National Orientation Agency and other relevant authorities to carry out adequate sensitization on the dangers involved in these hazardous practices. Call on the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide relief materials, to the victims of the inferno, that is the survivors. Those in support of prayer want to say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Staying with the National Assembly, and the House of Representatives is wading into the increase in price of petroleum products. Moved by the Deputy Minority Leader, Aliyu Madaki, and sponsored by 111 members of the House is calling for the immediate reversal in the price increase in petrol and cooking gas. The lawmakers fear that the hike is causing hardship for Nigerians and even threatening job security. The Green Chamber is asking the NNPCL and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources to increase local refining capacity, while the CBN should implement monetary policies that will mitigate the adverse effect of fuel price hikes on inflation.
With 2 months to the end of the fiscal year, the status of the medium-term expenditure framework comes into focus in the House of Representatives. Raising a motion of urgent national importance, a lawmaker highlights a violation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act by the President.
The House further notes that Section 11, subsection 1b, stipulates that the federal government must, not later than 4 months before the commencement of the next financial year, further worried that the time the National Assembly requires to exercise its functions as enshrined in Section 88, subsection 2b, is technically being taken away by the non-compliance of Section 11b of Fiscal Responsibility Act by the Executive.
Another motion of urgent national importance is raised regarding the recent increase in the pump price of petroleum products.
Also worried that unless urgent and pragmatic steps are taken to control the rising cost of petrol and cooking gas, the nation will go into economic crisis, leading into negative outcomes like increased crime rate and mortality. Resolve to call on the federal government to reverse the recent pump price hike and take immediate steps to stabilize petrol and cooking gas prices.
The increases of food in this country, somebody who is earning 70,000 a month, his 70,000 cannot last him for 3 days in this country, in the same government.
Our concern should be the welfare of Nigerians, which I believe is not only in my constituency that the masses or the poor or the people are suffering. I believe most of the constituencies, people are suffering because of this increase.
We cannot make a caricature of the parliament by proliferating ad hoc committees to solve problems, whereas this same House has in its creation mandated a committee or an ad hoc committee to investigate issues or concerns in the petroleum industry.
Lawmakers also query the variation in prices across the country and its alignment or otherwise with the Petroleum Industry Act. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The federal government has held a closed-door meeting with members of the organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to dialogue on some of the recent reactions from the workers' unions to government policies. The meeting, which held at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, was attended by the President of the NLC, Deputy President and General Secretary of the TUC, as well as the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Minister of Budget and National Planning, and the Minister of Finance. Although officials of the organized labor declined interview requests at the close of the meeting, the Minister of Labor says the meeting was a proactive measure on the part of government to ensure a smooth relationship with workers.
Government is always desirous of engaging with labor. This is one of such engagements. We will continue to interact with them. We don't wait until there is tension about anything before we engage labor. And so this is a renewed commitment on behalf of government to continue to engage labor on a number of issues. These engagements have been very fruitful, and we will continue to engage with them. But like I said, this is work in progress. This is something that is not a one-off thing. We have not reached anything that we think we can tell Nigerians now, but what is more important is that there is going to be continuous engagement between us and labor for the good of the country.
Well, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, says the federal government is on course for the implementation of its economic reforms, noting that the impact will soon be visible. The minister stated this at the closing ceremony of the Nigeria Economic Summit in Abuja. However, he assured Nigerians that the government will continue to collaborate with the private sector to achieve results.
Our engagement in the last 3 years have been enriching and rewarding, particularly with speeches from people around the world who admonish us to stay the course in the implementation of current reforms. I was also thrilled by the frank discussions and no-holds-barred submissions made by the panelists at the plenaries. I was represented in Nasarawa last week at the meeting of National Council on Development Planning, and it is reassuring to note that state governors, honorable ministers, permanent secretaries, director generals of government agencies, directors of federal and state MDAs, civil society organizations, development partners, as well as captain of industry are interested in our development trajectory, and they are willing to participate as indeed is confirmed by the participation in this year's summit.
In part two, after the break, the Northeast Development Commission plans to review the contract for the rehabilitation of Alo Dam in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. A petrol tanker explosion in Mejia Town, Taura local government area of Jigawa state, kills 140 persons, leaving 50 others injured. President Bola Tinubu directs that emergency aid, including medical supplies, food and shelter, be extended to the victims receiving treatment and others affected by the fire as residents bury the dead. And the House of Representatives calls for the immediate reversal in the price increase. Rehabilitation of the Alo Dam in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. The managing director of the commission, Mr. Mohammed Al-Khali, stated this during an assessment of the impact of the recent flood on some of the ongoing projects in the state. Mr. Al-Khali explains that the review is necessary in view of the damage done to the dam by the flood.
The management of Northeast Development Commission are assessing the impact of last month's flood on some of the ongoing projects in Borno State.
Open up an entirely new channel. That is like one.
The Alo Dam, which is responsible for the flood, is one of the projects visited.
As you are aware, there are 3 dikes. Okay.
Before the incident, the Commission had awarded about 1.2 billion naira for the rehabilitation of the project to address some identified threats.
Exit and then go to the river.
However, the leakage from the dam and the subsequent flood has necessitated a review of the project.
Our project site was just the spillway, but now just adjacent to it, we have a new channel of water. That was a major problem. So, and it's just by the side. So definitely you cannot start to do something here while you have a new opening, even by the adjacent, directly adjacent to it. So definitely this have to be on hold, and then until comprehensively we check everything and then see, okay, whether it's to continue with this one or whether to add the entire problem and then rescope it.
The managing director of the commission then ordered the immediate reassessment of the contract to reflect current realities.
We are here about 2 or 3 times, as well as the Jerebo Road. That means the commission is under very serious contractual transaction on the construction of the roads and rehabilitation of this spillway. You know, each contract carries some terms of reference, but unfortunately in this occasion we have some kind of a force majeure which affected or will affect both the contracts and other contracts as the case may be. So we're here today to assess what has happened after the flooding and see how it affects the general conception of the project and to devise some way forward.
The NEDC team also inspected ongoing projects like the Jere Ring Road, which connects agrarian and fishing communities in Jere and Mafa local government areas.
The River State House of Assembly, under the leadership of Victor Okojumbo, has resolved to initiate measures against Martin Amewule and other lawmakers who announced their defection on the floor of the House on December the 11th, 2023. On this controversy surrounding the 2024 budget, the Okojumbo-led Assembly said it is anticipating the presentation of the 2025 appropriation bill. It also approved Governor Siminalayi Fubara's request for the appointment of 5 new special advisors.
The new legislative day of the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Victor Okojombo, comes a day after the Assembly, led by Martin Amewele, met to declare their seats vacant and gave another opportunity to Governor Simone Alai Fubara to present again the 2024 appropriation bill. For consideration is a request by Governor Sim Fubara for the appointment of 5 new special advisors, which got the nod from the members.
What should have come into our thinking, or what should have been our concern, is to think about, does the state have such resources or capacity to accommodating essays at this time, Mr. Speaker?
If you ask me, I would say, you want to put a square peg in a square hole. Without beating my home, I want to appeal to this hallowed chamber under your leadership. Now, without wasting further time, this approval should be granted immediately.
The Speaker, Okojombo, praises Governor Fubara's leadership, describing it as a breath of fresh air for Rivers State. He does not only support the approval of the request, but expresses the Assembly's anticipation of the presentation of the 2025 appropriation bill amidst controversies over the operation of the current budget.
And I know that His Excellency would, like I said earlier, accelerate development at the local government levels so that Rivers State will be the envy of the entire states in Nigeria.
In a direct response to the actions of the Martin Amewele Assembly, the leader of the pro-Fubara House, under a motion of public importance, calls for sanction against their opponents for continuing to conduct proceedings despite losing their seats due to defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress.
I move that this House, this Honorable House, firmly resolve to invoke the provision of the Constitution, Section 99 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, against the 25 former members who, despite losing their seats, have unlawfully continued to sit.
Commenting on this, the Okojombo-led House expressed disappointment over the delay by the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct by-elections to fill the alleged vacant seats of the defected lawmakers, despite being in receipt of 2 letters of notification. He affirmed his support for Governor Fubara, insisting that he has not committed impeachable offences.
If they so also wish to represent their constituencies, the 25 constituencies that are vacant as of today, they should also present themselves before Rivers people for election. We will continue to support the administration of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of our dear states.
The arguments for the sanction against Amewele and the others were based on Section 99 and Section 109 of the Constitution, which mandates the loss of a lawmaker's seat upon defection without a crisis in their original party. The lawmakers argued that this provision is self-executory, leaving no room for defiance.
Renowned lawyer Dr. Olisa Agbakuba has drawn the attention of the National Assembly to constitutional issues related to law enforcement agencies in Nigeria and factors inhibiting the government's objective of abolishing corruption as stated in Section 13 of the Constitution. In 2 separate letters to the Senate and House of Representatives dated October the 14th, he said the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, was an unlawful organization which he believed is unconstitutionally established. Dr. Agbakuba says that the powers under which the EFCC was established go beyond the powers of the National Assembly, and that he is delighted to note that many states have finally taken it upon themselves to challenge the constitutionality of the EFCC, saying this will put to rest the question relating to the validity of the EFCC. A coalition of civil society organizations are condemning the recent legal action by some state governments against anti-corruption agencies, including the EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The group described the action as a threat to the fight against corruption and the autonomy of local governments, which they consider a fundamental pillar of grassroots democracy. The coalition stated this during a news conference in Abuja. Speaking on behalf of the group, the Executive Director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo, expresses concern over the continued violation of the financial autonomy of local government areas by some state governors, despite the recent judgment by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Gloria Omezoke is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Gloria.
Many thanks, Ayo. Here in the nation's capital, the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says the government at all levels needs to make money to provide social services to Nigerians. Mr. Wike stated this at the maiden edition of the Abuja Business and Investment Summit, organized by the Abuja Investment Company Limited in the nation's capital. He also asked government officials to also always ensure due diligence before embarking on investment agreements with any investor.
It's the first edition of the Abuja Business and Investment Summit, organized by the Abuja Investment Company Limited, which provides a platform to showcase Abuja's potential as a thriving investment destination across various sectors. The chief host explains the rationale for the summit.
Well, this summit is aimed at promoting investment opportunities in FCT, as well as creating a platform for networking among investors from within Nigeria and beyond. I am confident that our crop of carefully selected and notable panelists would provide insightful and thought-provoking ideas that will break new grounds for economic prosperity.
The theme for the summit is optimizing investment through partnerships, and the FCT minister urges Nigerians to partner with the government by paying their tax.
How can I put in this kind of money and bring in the land? At the end of the day, government will not make a dime. When people say government is not to make money, who told you that? If government is not to make money, how do we have money to provide services? Government needs money. That's why government said pay a tax.
While searching for such investment partnerships, Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State offers an advice to government officials.
The whole agenda of also Nigeria First philosophy, as a philosophy, is something that we must mainstream. This will require us to intentionally nurture national champions for sustainability. If you see the companies that have pulled out of Nigeria, how many of them happen to be national companies? None. So for long-term sustainability, we must intentionally nurture the domestic capital and build them. It's a very big topic. For latecomer industrializers, governments must help to de-risk certain strategic investments for the private sector.
The event presents an opportunity for investors, policymakers, and stakeholders to explore avenues for investment, partnership, asset growth, and development in the nation's capital.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Ministry of Finance partners credit call to launch a total of 10 billion naira fund to enable Nigerians access CNG conversions and solar energy solutions amid high prices. Well, that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. The federal government, through the presidential metering initiative supported by the World Bank Distribution Sector Reform Program, has procured 1.3 million electricity meters, with the first set expected to arrive by December 2024. The Minister of Power, Mr. Adelabu Adebayo, announced this during the 2024 Nigeria Energy Leadership Summit in Lagos, where he highlighted the ministry's efforts to tackle the persistent metering gap that has long plagued the nation's electricity distribution system. He also emphasized the significance of the 2023 Electricity Act and the Integrated National Electricity Policy in fostering sustainable improvements as Nigeria continues to navigate its electricity challenges.
The current energy landscape presents numerous challenges, including inadequate infrastructure and a heavy reliance on fossil fuels. However, the 2024 Nigeria Energy Leadership Summit aims to break these barriers by exploring renewable resources such as solar, wind, and hydropower. Speakers emphasize public-private partnership to bridge energy deficiency.
As we come together and pull together looking at the public-private partnerships that can achieve this, it's a time to have those conversations.
We are driven by our belief in the potential of Nigeria as a key player in the global energy arena, and we are committed to powering that vision with innovation, technologies, sustainable solutions, partnerships, and transcend borders.
Amid these challenges, the Minister of Power asserts that the government has built a solid foundation, positioning Nigeria's power sector for future success. Nonetheless, the metering gap remains a long-standing issue that must be addressed.
The district program aims to install 3.2 million meters, out of which I can confirm to you authoritatively that 1.3 million meters have been procured, the contract signed, and the payment made. This initiative, that's the metering initiative, will reduce estimated billing. It will enhance transparency and improve sector liquidity by ensuring that energy consumers are fairly billed.
The implication for Lagos State is to expand collaboration and attract more investments in renewable energy.
We are encouraging private sector partnership through incentives that promote green practices and sustainable growth.
The exhibition part of the summit highlights cutting-edge technologies and initiatives aimed at promoting energy efficiency. Exhibitors range from renewable energy companies showcasing solar and wind technologies to startups presenting innovative solutions for energy.
Our role in all of this is just basically to create a platform where we can bring all the suppliers, all the solutions providers, and all the manufacturers and match them with buyers of these solutions, i.e. your government, your state, and large power providers that are looking to create power for the rest of the country.
The consensus among participants is clear that a collaborative approach incorporating both public and private sectors is essential to achieving a sustainable energy future. Or for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Gloria. Still to come on the news at 10, mayor among 5 killed in Israeli strike on Nabatea in southern Lebanon. Please stay with us. Time now for some business news with Dominic Iwiwu.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Ayo. Welcome to Business News. In response to the growing financial strain on Nigerians caused by high energy and transportation costs, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, Credit Corp, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, and the Presidential Initiative on CNG have joined forces to launch a total of 10 billion naira credit access for Light and Mobility Fund for Nigerians. The new fund, which commences with 2.5 billion naira, aims to provide affordable credit for Nigerians to obtain CNG conversion kits and other energy-saving solutions, making essential services more accessible to Nigerians while promoting sustainability. The fund will enable Nigerians to obtain loans through participating financial institutions, providing a pathway to sustainable energy without the financial burden of upfront costs. Therefore, Nigerians are encouraged to explore this opportunity by applying for CALM Fund loans through participating financial institutions. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, says it has resolved the dispute it had with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over the price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. The resolution, which is confirmed by the National President of IPMAN, Abubakar Garima, today in Abuja follows an intervention by the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, and includes a price reduction of PMS from 1,030 naira to 995 naira in Lagos and other states. IPMAN also announced plans to lift PMS directly from Dangote Refinery following successful negotiations facilitated by the DSS, and says it has inaugurated a national monitoring and surveillance team to combat illegal oil bunkering, smuggling, pipeline vandalism, and adulteration of petroleum products. It's good news for Lagos State government workers as the governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, says that his administration has agreed to pay 85,000 naira as the new minimum wage to civil servants in the state. The governor, who made the announcement during a special interview on our political program Politics Today, says the decision is the outcome of discussions held with the labor unions in the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu also mentioned that his government had earlier in the year increased the salary of state government workers and would continue to do so. He also gave an assurance that despite numerous challenges and ongoing projects currently in the state, his administration is taking measures to provide succor for the residents amid the prevalent hunger and hardship in Nigeria. From there, we head to the domestic stock markets, which ended midweek trading session in negative territory as profit-taking resurfaced after gaining for 2 consecutive days. Inijon Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it does seem like Aradel is losing its theme, being celebrated enough. Investors are now taking profit. So 48 naira, which it gained on its share price the previous day, has now been eroded as we see the price closing at 772 naira for a share of Aradel, contributing to the red color that we see at the NGX today. More explanation with the sectors. Banking is still retaining the color red, but it's better today. Today it's marginally down 0.04%. So it's not just FBN Holdings today. UBA, Access Code, Zenith Bank contributed to that. Consumer goods is sustaining that green color, and well, you can expect that Dangote Sugar is also leading in there. So we see it at 0.46%. Oil and gas slightly up. O&O and Japan Gold, in spite of the negative sentiment profit taking around Aradel, we see that the counter still survived. Today, at the close of trade, 148 billion naira was shaved off this, even though we're still at 59 trillion naira. But the loss this week so far is huge. We hope we can recover before the close of this week. And the All-Share Index is down 0.25%, even though we're still at 98,000 level. And well, I guess for the first time this week, the bear visits us.
It's a mixed close for major global stock markets today as Wall Street stages a rebound from Tuesday's sell-off, while others react to the latest earnings results. Here are some of the closing numbers. And that's it on business news. Back to Ayo for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Dominic. Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has pleaded not guilty in a Senate hearing to all allegations, including corruption, inciting ethnic divisions, and support for historic anti-government protests. Gachagua has 2 days to convince senators and save his position following the allegations. The Senate will also cross-examine witnesses and then vote on Thursday evening. Here's Simon Puzu with more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. 6 people, including the local mayor, have been killed by Israeli airstrikes on the southern Lebanese city of Nabatea. Here, plumes of smoke seen rising from the city. The city's governor says 11 strikes hit the city and its surroundings, with the Lebanese Health Ministry confirming that 6 people were killed and 43 injured. These attacks come just days after previous Israeli strikes destroyed the city's marketplace. The strikes came after Israel hit Beirut for the first time in 5 days. Israel says it targeted strategic weapons hidden by Hezbollah underground. Meanwhile, the US has written to Israel, giving it 30 days to boost humanitarian aid access in Gaza or risk having some US military assistance cut off. The letter, sent on Sunday, amounts to the strongest known written warning from the US to its ally and comes amid a new Israeli offensive in northern Gaza that has reportedly caused a large number of civilian casualties. It says the US has deep concerns about the deteriorating humanitarian situation, adding that Israel denied or impeded nearly 90% of humanitarian movements between the north and south last month. Israel is reviewing the letter, an Israeli official said, adding the country takes this matter seriously and intends to address the concerns raised with US counterparts.
This was a letter we considered to be a private diplomatic communication that we did not intend to make public from our side, but now that it is public, I'm happy to confirm it and speak to it to some extent. I think you have to put this letter in the context of our ongoing and long-lasting communications and concerns about the levels of humanitarian assistance that have made it to Palestinian civilians.
A judge in the US state of Georgia has blocked an order for ballots in November's presidential election to be counted by hand. Judge Robert McBurney ruled poll workers would not have received adequate training to handle millions of ballots, adding that the last-minute change would have led to administrative chaos. The hand count mandate was passed by the pro-Trump majority on the Georgia Election Board last month, and Tuesday's ruling was welcomed by Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. Early voting began in Georgia on Tuesday, with record numbers casting their votes in the key swing state ahead of Election Day on the 5th of November. Kenya's parliament has begun the final step to remove Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua from office. An overwhelming majority voted in the National Assembly last week to approve his impeachment, setting the stage for the 2-day trial in the Senate that decides whether or not to oust him. The Deputy President faces 11 charges, including corruption, inciting ethnic divisions, and undermining government, all of which he denies. The row follows his recent fallout with President William Ruto, who has remained silent about the matter. Gachagua's trial is being conducted before the full House of the Senate after it abandoned a process to set up an 11-member committee to investigate the charges. Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Authority says an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.9 has struck eastern Turkey's Malatya province on Wednesday. There were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. Footage from a neighbouring city showed several items inside a house shaking after tremors hit the region. And here, a TV presenter in Malatya taking cover as the quake hit during a live broadcast. Officials say a man who allegedly left his dog tied to a post in floodwaters ahead of Hurricane Milton has been charged with aggravated animal cruelty. The animal was rescued by Highway Patrol near a Florida highway on the 9th of October. Body cam footage posted, which has been viewed more than 12 million times, showed the dog standing beside a wire fence in water up to his chest. His former owner, Giovanni Aldama Garcia, was arrested on Monday. The 23-year-old could face up to 5 years in jail if found guilty of animal cruelty. And the Italian luxury group Prada and the Houston-based startup Axiom Space have unveiled the design of a spacesuit that will be used for NASA's Artemis 3 mission to the moon. Artemis 3, planned as the first astronaut moon landing since Apollo 17 in 1972, is currently scheduled for 2026. The new Axiom extravehicular mobility unit, showcased at the International Astronautical Congress in Milan, aims to combine highly engineered functionality and aesthetics to deal with challenging lunar conditions. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. It's time to talk sports. New England boss Thomas Tuchel apologized for having a German passport, but says he's ready to prove wrong the critics who are against a foreign coach taking charge. The 51-year-old who says he's not yet decided whether he would sing the national anthem, has signed an 18-month contract and stressed his focus was to get over the line in a major tournament after several near misses under predecessor Gareth Southgate. And Tuchel was previously managed Borussia Dortmund, PSG, Chelsea and Bayern Munich, is the third non-Englishman to hold the post after Sven-Göran Eriksson and Fabio Capello. And former Manchester United star Paul Pogba has maintained that he is not a cheater as he took responsibility for his failed doping test that resulted in a 4-year ban from football. Following a successful appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sportscast, Pogba's ban was reduced to 18 months, with the midfielder free to start playing again from March 2025. Speaking in a new interview ahead of returning to action, the 31-year-old says he has never taken performance-enhancing drugs and didn't do it on purpose. To tennis now, Daria Kasatkina came back from a set down to win 1-6, 6-3 and 6-2 over Czech Katerina Siniakova and reached the quarterfinals of the Ningbo Open in China. And neither woman put on a clinical serving during the match, which lasted just over 2 hours, with Kasatkina winning 56% of her service points to Siniakova's 3.52. The fifth-seeded Russian, who proved more clinical, taking 6 of 14 break opportunities compared to Siniakova's 5 of 15.
Game, Seremet, Kazakhina. 2 sets to 1, 1-6, 6-3, 6-2.
And that's your Sports Tonight. I'm Kelly Agigas. Back to you, Tunde.
Many thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. A petrol tanker has exploded in Mejia town in Taura local government area of Jigawa state, killing 140 persons and leaving 50 others injured. President Bola Tinubu has directed that emergency aid, including medical supplies, food and shelter, be extended to the victims receiving treatment. I would also like to inform our viewers that we will be broadcasting the concluding event from the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City, Edo State, is the Betsy Obaseki Football Championship on our DSTV platform right after the news at 10. Well, many thanks for watching on the news at 10. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night and please stay safe.